Although Omnisphere is not a host in itself, don't think that it doesn't have a lot of options that you can set in the system area, because it does. It's a fairly complex instrument, and there's a lot of ways you can configure it to use your CPU and memory power most efficiently. We'll go to System right here in the upper right corner. Now right there, the first thing I'll see is this memory area. It's telling me how much memory the current sample is using and how much I can limit it to use. Process limit or no limit, which could be pretty dangerous if you are loading up some massive stuff in Omnisphere. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of massive things. So you can set how much physical memory you can use right there. If you have a 64-bit host, then you can use all of the physical memory on your computer. If you're running in 32-bit mode, you're going to be a little bit more restricted. Underneath memory is how it handles streaming. Now, streaming it's going to basically allow a lot of the sample to reside on the disk and only load some of it, like the attack and part of the sample, into memory. This is what lets you take a massive sample and not use all 1 gigabyte of it in your RAM, using a much smaller portion, just the attacks, and then when you hit a node, it reads the rest off the disk. So you choose. You can actually turn streaming off, and I should warn you that that will incur a pretty big hit on your RAM. You should really only do that if you have an incredibly slow hard drive, and that's what you have to do. Preloading memory size and the number of bytes per read are also related to that matter. So when it does preload part of it into RAM, how much of it should it load? How many bytes should it load? This will alleviate some reads to your disk, but at a cost of a bigger memory footprint. Lock memory should pretty much always be on, unless, again, you're loading up really massive sounds and you can't fit it in the amount of memory that you have. But when you turn that off, it'll try to only use the memory that it has to for each individual sound instead of reserving the full amount per sound. But you're going to run into a danger of some audio glitches. Now, down here, we've got stream break and stream read ahead. And you can see a little readout there showing how many samples it's reading as I play. So if I hit one note, we've got one. When I start adding another, and you can see how much of the stream is happening. Again, these you don't really want to adjust unless you're positive that there's no other way to do it, as if you're speaking with Omnisphere support and they tell you to adjust it. The tuning is up here in the center. You can adjust your master tuning, which actually can be helpful if you're playing in a pit orchestra or something with an out-of-tune piano, or you're playing in a European situation that isn't using 440. Underneath, we've got some miscellaneous options here. So round robin, how does it handle that? You can play all the round robin samples sequentially, or you can have them randomize or randomly pick from the full cycle. In general, I like to leave it sequential. These patches have been thought out by the folks at Omnisphere, and they put them in an order that they feel that they should be played. But if you disagree with that order, you can change it. Where does it go when it starts up, and what directory is it reading your patches from when it starts up as well? Here on the right-hand side, you've got the ability to remap your controller modulations. So, for example, if I don't want the mod wheel to actually be my mod wheel, if I can't reach it or I decide I'm going to use something else, a pedal, then what you could do is you can, instead of having to re-MIDI map every single patch that uses the mod wheel, you can just tell Omnisphere, the mod wheel is actually this instead. So what I do is I click on it and I hit Move MIDI Controller, and that means the next thing I move is going to be used as the mod wheel. So if I step on my pedal here, now MIDI Controller 3 is going to control the mod wheel source in all of the patches. So it's great. It saves me from having to reprogram each one if I want to change it to a pedal or something. If I don't like that, I can just go back and reset it back to the wheel. So that's a little remapping that you can do in the Omnisphere system menu.